Okay, this is just a little bit on the pastry cream for the open French apple tart, which is very delicious and actually looks really pretty. Kind of a special occasion, nice apple pie. Okay, so the pastry cream, egg yolks and sugar whisked together. I don't think you need to do it like if you're making a cake where you're whisking it into a mousse, because you're going to be putting milk in this and heating it. So I don't think that's important. Into it you're adding your flour. I'm only doing half the recipe here because I've only got a little bit of pastry left over from my tart tatin. That's the pastry I'm using. Put your flour and your corn flour. Now in a pastry cream like this, corn flour is not the traditional French classic meh, but it makes the whole thing a lot more stable because it's the corn flour that makes the sauce thicken and not the eggs cooking, which as a result, the food snobs would say that's not the way to do it. But actually, as a result, you're much less likely to scramble your eggs. So that's a good thing. Okay, and now, whoops, I have here my milk heating. It says a vanilla bean. I couldn't be arsed with a vanilla bean, even though it would be nice. So I'm just putting in a tiny little bit of vanilla extract. In there. In she goes. Heat your milk to almost boiling. Bit of welly there. So in here now you've got your flour, your cornstarch, your eggs and your sugar. Almost boiling-ish. Grand job. Okay. Pour your milk into your mixture. Yum, yum, yum. If you had a cloth under that now, it would stop spinning around. It says strain the mixture back into the saucepan. Do if you wish. I'm not going to strain it. I don't see why you need to strain it. The eggs aren't going to have cooked. Everything's liquidy. It's grand. Okay, and onto the heat. Very gently. You could whisk. I'd almost prefer to use a wooden spoon so you end up scraping any kind of potential bits off the bottom. Till it thickens and reaches a boil, it says. Continue cook. Yeah, I wouldn't be inclined to boil it. Simmer it a little bit till it gets thick. Okay, so my pastry cream is simmering away. And you know what? I think I will sieve it. It's just ever so... Let me see if I can... Yeah. Okay. It's ever so slightly grainy. So I think I might actually sieve it. Because it's all about knowing when you made a mistake. So I'm going to sieve it. See if I have an assistant here now. I have somebody to do these little menial tasks for me. But anyway, never mind. This isn't the right gadget either. Should have got a spatula. But my washer up is day off, so I'm going to sieve that through. Yeah, slightly scrambly, I have to confess. But anyway, it'll be grand. So I'm just going to keep out that, slightly scrambled egg looking stuff. Pop that back in my pan, and I am going to find my spatula, because that is actually what I need. Scrape that off into there. That's a bit smoother now. I'm going to put it back on the heat. Give it a little bit longer. The trick with this is to make it first before you do anything else, because you're going to want to chill it in the fridge. Yeah, according to the recipe, which we mustn't forget to read. Okay. So yeah, the corn flour and that kind of stabilizes it and makes it thick, and in theory it stops it turning into scrambled eggs. So, while that is just warming up again, this is the pastry which I had left over from the tart tatin. I've rolled it a bit thinner, and this is the flaky pastry that I got the recipe from Catherine from, which will, I'd say, cook lovely and light. And you could actually see, we should have looked at it before I flipped the chart over. I'm only doing this in a small tin because I've halved the pastry cream recipe. I've almost gone and scrambled it again, but it'll be grand. We'll throw it in a bowl and stick it in the fridge. Okay. So I'm only making a little tiny one because I've only done half the pastry cream. And anyway, it's only so much apple tart you can eat in a weekend. Even though my lovely son is home for the weekend, rightly or wrongly. So I'm sure he will assist in the endeavour. Okay, so there's the pastry cream case. God, I wonder where you're supposed to trim it like that, or should I have tucked it over the edges? Anyway, never mind. Right, that's ready to go. Here's the pastry cream. Slightly scrambled again, but anyway, never mind. Stick it in a bowl. I think the recipe says cover it with cling film, if you must. But I do have some of these silicone-y things, so that I don't use cling film, if I can help it. I think the reason you're supposed to cover it is so it doesn't form a skin, because if it forms a skin, well, it won't be creamy, will it? So you put that hot into the fridge with a cover on it. Okay, for the open French apple tart, the recipe says peel, core, and slice the apples somewhere. That's what it says. Am I missing that page? No. Okay. Now, most apple pies, chop up your apples grand. This is one of those ones, you want the apple slices to be really thin, and I'm not one for precision, as you might know. But you want them really thin, and you're going to be arranging them, kind of overlapping them in layers. So you want them to be kind of regular and kind of thin, like that. And then you're going to be doing them all in a circle, making them look pretty. So treat it as a slightly meditative exercise. Try and keep them even and pretty thin. I've probably got more than I need here, actually. Okay, so my pastry cream, creme patisserie, is cool. It is actually also slightly lumpy. So you can learn from my mistakes. Sieve it, like the recipe says. Don't heat it too hot. Do you know what? It's still going to taste nice, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to just pour it into my little pastry case. Cat, don't let me down, please. You're supposed to be asleep. Socially distancing from the food, like a good cat. Okay. Right. In here, like that. Beautiful. Then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be tossing your sugar into your apples. I ended up using that apple actually because you know what, the more the merrier. So there's your caster sugar, some very, very delicious real cinnamon from sticks that Sarah brought me back from Martinique back in the olden days when you could travel. Anyway, I'm going to be generous with it. It's quite gritty, it's delicious. Okay, mix them all up together, and then you are going to arrange them beautifully. Let's see if I can just... You want to keep the... You want to overlap them, keeping the roundy side visible. Work from the outside and go round. This is one of those sort of slow, meditative jobs, which is worth... That cinnamon's actually really probably overly coarse, but I couldn't bear to grind it into something that looked like it came... Oh, pussycat, please get off the counter, don't let me down. Ruin the whole thing. She's ready for her dinner. Now, I've probably got too much apple here, but sure, look, somebody will eat it. No. Okay. So that's your first layer. And tuck that last little one in there so it looks perfect. And then go again. I do want to keep it kind of, you could use the smaller ones in the middle if there are smaller ones. Like that. What does it say on the recipe? What happens next? Arrange the slices. Arrange the apple slices in a pattern and dot the apples with tiny bits of butter. I nearly missed that bit actually. Okay. Right. You could actually make it look far more beautiful than that. My middle bits are a bit wonky, but you know what? Pretty beautiful. Like the rest of us. Now, butter. Here's some I didn't prepare earlier because I forgot it was in the recipe. How much do I need? I'm just going to pick it up in my hand. Tablespoon. Okay, and I'm only using half a tablespoon, so it's not very much. Okay. Like that. You know, with butter, more is more. Okay, yum. So I'm just going to dot it like that. And then what you do is you get a little length. Yeah, I'm not sure it's necessary. I'll do it because it says you should. A length of foil to wrap around the edges of your pastry to stop them getting burnt. I don't actually think that's going to get burnt. There's so little of it. Follow the recipe and do what you're told. But you know what? I'm not going to bother. And you know what? Then we'll see if it gets burnt. And if it doesn't, then you'll know that you don't need to do it. Okay, so I'll be back when my oven is hot because it's not yet. Okay, so my oven is hot. Here's my little tart to put in. The recipe says 200 degrees for 40 minutes. I am going to give it slightly less because it is small, but it'll probably need most of that. So I'm going to set my thing for 35 and see how it looks. Okay? I'm also going to put in my little Cornish pasty leftover pastry thing that I did for the leftovers. Yum! So this tart has now had 40 minutes as per the recipe. I did not put the tin foil on the edges. The pastry did not burn. It looks pretty yummy. So happy days. So that comes out of the oven. Now, this is your apricot glaze. Apricot jam and lemon juice. Heated together, strained, I'm not going to bother straining it, and brushed on your tart. Would I go and buy apricot jam to make this? No. This is apricot jam that, God, I don't know how long it's been in my fridge. It's probably well out of date. In fact, it wasn't even in the fridge, but it wasn't mouldy either, so it obviously keeps. So you brush it all over. This is what those fancy French patisseries use to make their stuff all shiny and gorgeous looking. And it actually does finish it off nicely. I'm not sure I'd be rushing out to buy apricot jam especially, but seeing as I had it. So, that's all gungy because your pastry cream is underneath, and the pastry cream didn't boil up or get nasty. It looks very delicious. It's only a small one, but I think it's going to taste really nice. So enjoy. Now here is our little leftover creation. As predicted, all the juices have run out and burnt, and it's going to be a pain in the bum to clean. And it's stuck to the tin. Do you know what? It doesn't matter. Put it on a plate here. I really just want to see what this pastry is like. Why didn't I get a knife? It looks pretty nice. It's pretty crumbly. It's harder than I thought it would be actually. It's gone quite hard. But it looks very tasty. Definitely nicer than short crust. Put a little bit of icing sugar on it, seeing as we didn't brush it with egg. Nice little snack to have with your coffee. Okay, that's the end of Apple Week. Have a nice day, have a nice week, happy cooking, hope it was fun.